So with the change in pace of the metagame, I've been testing out a lot of strategies that are much better going second rather than first, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. Now, again, it's hard to pass up the opportunity to play what is, again, personally my favorite deck, Galaxy Eyes, right? It's a deck that, again, got a bunch of support in the not-so-distant past, and it's really solid right now. It's definitely not super top tier or anything like that. Again, as I said in my previous video, I think it's sort of like a mid rogue range contender. But it's definitely really good, and we were competing in sort of between Diamond 3 and Diamond 1 with this deck. It got us from sort of Diamond 3 up until like the promo match of Diamond 1, and we were sort of fighting in that range pretty successfully. So the deck's definitely capable of fighting at the higher tiers of the game, although we did have to make quite a few changes from the last time we looked at it. So we're going to be talking about those towards the end of the video when we go through the deck quite quickly. But I do have a few games lined up first of all, just to sort of go over the basics of the deck, how it works. It's really not that complicated, and it's very easy to overcomplicate the deck, which is something I think a lot of players, including myself, occasionally fall prey to. So we're going to be talking about what to do, what to avoid, and of course, what our actual build is. So if you're interested in this style of content, as well as anything else we do here, you can of course subscribe. It is free and the best and simplest way to show support for the channel. Every single one means an awful lot. So if you could just take 2 seconds to do it, I would definitely really appreciate that. And you can also like the video if you actually enjoy watching it. You can find in the description links to our Discord, our DeviantArt, our Twitter, anything like that at all to get more engaged with the channel if you want. Again, all the links are there. It's all free. Why not, right? But I'm not going to take up too much of your time here. Let's get into game number 1. Alright, so diving right in, we are of course going second. Initially when I was playing this deck, I really wanted to play it going first, and this is something you're going to be seeing happening a lot. Your opponents are going to be thinking you're playing potentially McConk or things like that. Now this guy turns out to be playing Labyrinth, so they were just setting back row because that's what they do, right? We're going to go dropping the Galaxy Soldier here from our hand to summon out the Galaxy Soldier. Of course, they're going to go Maxi. We're going to cross out that Maxi so that we're not playing under it. They're then going to chain their welcome Labyrinth. So it's not as if they were playing around anything. They just had all of the cards they needed at their disposal right there in their hand. So they're going to summon out Lady Labyrinth at the Silver Castle, then using Welcome to summon out Ariana. We are, of course, going to banish a Maxi from the deck from our Nobleman to cross out. Or cross out Designator, sorry. Summoning out Galaxy Soldier. Galaxy Soldier searching our deck for a card. Ariana going to be searching their deck for a card, and they're going to be hitting us with an infinite impermanence, triggering, of course, the effect of Lady Labyrinth of the Silver Castle. That's going to search for them a trap card that they can set directly to the field. They're going to choose Big Welcome Labyrinth on this occasion. Infinite Impermanence is going to negate our Galaxy Soldier search effect. They're going to grab the Coup Clock off of their Ariana, which they're going to be able to use this turn to make that face down card that they just set activatable during this turn. We're going to go for Expedition, summoning the Galaxy as Photon Dragon straight from the deck. Galaxy Summoner going to change the level of the Galaxy Soldier that we have on our field to level 4, making it more useful for an Exceed summon. That's why we don't play Cyber Dragons anymore, because this is much more consistent and powerful. We're going to go into the Galaxy Photon Dragon, Big Welcome Labyrinth, then coming out here, summoning out the Lovely, returning Ariana back to hand to trigger Lovely's effect to get popping the Galaxy Photon Dragon. But luckily we have the Galaxy Eyes Afterglow in hand. We're going to go into that, Exceed summoning into number 62 Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon, ranking it up into number C62, the Neo Prime Photon Dragon, into the battle phase, detaching Afterglow Dragon to attach onto itself a Galaxy Eyes, doubling its attack points at the 12,800 and swinging for game easily over the Lovely Labyrinth. And it's just as simple as that. They threw a lot of interruption at us and we managed to play through it all and go for an easy kill. So sometimes it's just that easy. Let's get into game 2. Alrighty, getting into game 2 here, slightly different scenario, of course, a very different hand. We're going to go up against Pearly. Now, this one was a bit of a tough one, I'm not going to lie to you. Our opponent actually plays around the Nibiru perfectly here. They're going to grab Delicious, of course, from their deck, which is pretty standard, adding it to hand. They're going to go for Delicious Memory now, targeting, of course, their Pearly. Going to drop a card, summon out Pearly from deck. They're going to grab them Pretty Happy or Pretty from deck, so they're going to go for Pretty Memory here, of course. Pretty Memory being the better one. Pearly grabbing the Delicious from grave. That marks 4 summons. And before our opponent goes into anything else super fancy, they're going to start stacking up on their plump so they can play around Nibiru. And they were pretty smart about this, and, you know, they did pretty well. So this is summon number 3. They're going to summon out number 4 there. That Pearly marks number 4. So they're 1 summon away from Nibiru, but they are going to be able to use the plump here, activating Pretty Memory, using the Plump's effect, and basically attach 2 cards on itself as material, ranking it up into Noir. So while now that does mark the 5th summon, the Noir is immune to the Nibiru. So we're just going to prevent them from going into any additional shenanigans. Giving them a 200 attack point token does make them some way vulnerable and creates an opening that we can exploit. We're now going to go for Galaxy 100, sending Jumper from deck to grave. We're going to activate Jumper, grabbing ourselves Trance. Trance is very powerful. We're going to use it now. Using it, paying 200 life points, targeting the Jumper in the grave, but unfortunately, we're being met by Call by the Grave. Now, Trance is one of our single strongest cards in our deck, so trying to play through this turn without Trance, it's going to be tough. We're going to go for Wizard now. Wizard tributing itself. Going to grab Galaxy Soldier directly from the deck. Soldier then going to drop the Emperor to summon itself out to the field. Chainlink 1 Soldier, Chainlink 2 Emperor. Basically, Emperor is going to summon itself back to the field, granting us an additional normal summon for the duration of this turn. And Galaxy Soldier is going to get searching our deck for another Galaxy card. We're going to grab Summoner. We do have that additional normal summon, which we are going to use on the Summoner. Bringing back the Wizard. Going to use Summoner to change Soldier's level to 4. Now we're going to rank up our Wizard so we can exceed summon into the Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord. Now the reason we do that is because the moment he detaches 2 materials to try and spin one of our cards, he's going to only have 4 materials remaining, meaning he will be vulnerable to number 90. So that is worth bearing in mind. We go into the Photon Dragon. We can't really do anything until he does decide to go for the Noir's effect. So we're going to try backing him into a corner here. Grabbing the Photon Vanisher, summoning it out to the field. Going to search our deck for the Photon Dragon directly. Galaxy Photon Dragon using its effect, of course, to modulate levels. It's boosting up to a level 8. We're going to use the Photon Dragon, tributing into the Photon Dragon. This guy has an effect where basically you can tribute 2 monsters on your field that have 2,000 or more attack points to instantly special summon this guy out to your field. So we were able to summon him quite easily. We're going to rank up now into number 62 Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon, then into number C62 Neo Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon. This is when he's going to be backed into the corner with the Noir here, because we're simply too big for his defense. He's going to detach 2 to target the Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord. We're going to negate. He's going to detach another 2 and then another 2, targeting all of our cards, trying to get rid of our monsters as best as he possibly can. Of course, number C62 is immune, and while he does get rid of our Photon Lord, not before our Photon Lord gets rid of his Noir. So Noir is gone. He is going to grab back a few cards from the graveyard here. Going to grab back, what was that, Delicious Pretty Memory and the Happy Memory. But again, looking at our field, we're more than prepared to go for lethal here. We activate Thrust just to get 1 additional card to wipe out the rest of the back row, and then we just simply attack for game, right? Easy win. Just as simple as that. Again, just be aggressive. Even when you're facing a deck as powerful as Pearly, and they played really well, to be fair, you know, dodging the Nibiru, but by putting the additional Pearlies on board, it meant that we have some pretty easy targets to, at the very least, put an exploitable weakness onto his board. So it is what it is. It didn't work out for our opponent there on that occasion. We just simply outplayed them. But that's it. Let's get into game number 3. Now we're going to talk about one of the deck's most exploitable weaknesses, and that is the long game, coming about from matchups circling around back row in particular. We're going to draw in the Galaxy Cyclone, which I really like in this deck, but he has Cosmic Cyclone face down, which we target for our Galaxy Cyclone, of course not accomplishing very much, and that's totally fine. We're going to go for Galaxy Soldier here. Galaxy Soldier dropping off the Emperor to summon itself, gets Searching, Emperor gets Summoning. Of course, pretty standard stuff according to what we're very familiar with this deck. So Emperor's going to come out, granting us that additional normal summon. We are going to use Soldier to grab Summoner. Summoner is definitely one of your best searches. Wizard is also very good, of course, but Summoner is in most cases better. We're going to grab back Soldier from the graveyard again. We're just trying to sort of predict and dance around that back row a little bit. We don't really know what we're dealing with yet. Dropping the Photon Dragon so we can bring it back off the Summoner. They're going to go for There Can Only Be One, and unfortunately we already control a dragon in the form of the Soul Flare Dragon, so we're going to need to change up our approach here. We're going to go into Baguska. Baguska then, of course, not impacting our Soul Flare Dragon, but we're going to swing in, deal 2,000 damage, and we're basically just going to hold fast to see, are they playing Makonko? Are they playing Stun? Like, what exactly are they playing with Tikaboo in their deck? So we're being a little bit more cautious here. Because he didn't do anything this turn, I'm sort of a little bit more confident that, okay, he's probably playing something more stun-based. We're going to swing in, get as much damage as we can, plus we're going to pull out Zeus during main phase 2, of course, which is going to be excellent against any back row based strategy because we can simply wipe the board at any time we want. We are going to hold off for now. They're going to go for Sky Striker, Mobilize, Engage. It looks like we're playing into Strikers. They're going to go for Call by hitting our Ash Blossom, preventing us from, of course, negating the Engage, which is a big ass problem, right? Because Engage is hella powerful. Ash Blossom doesn't resolve, that's fine. Engage gets Searching. They're going to grab for Sky Striker Ray. Spoiler, this guy actually made me really want to play Sky Striker, so you might be seeing that in an upcoming video. That feels really good as well. Going for the Widow Anchor, we got a Royal Widow Anchor and a Royal Kagiri back to back, cheating of course the Zeus 2 to Widow Anchor to wipe the board while we have the opportunity, but it's not going to prevent them from being able to garner a massive amount of advantage off of course the Kagiri as well as the Ray as well. Having the Zeus in the main monster zone is going to slow them down somewhat. They do need to find a way to get rid of that. They're going to go 3k and 15 to the face here during the battle phase, tributing off Ray to summon at Hayate, another 15 to the face off the Hayate. Going to mill, mobilize, or the I forget the name of that card off the top of my head. Linkage. Gonna go for another plus into the Widow Anchor, drawing one Shizuku then, of course. Shizuku at the end of the turn searching their deck for a multi-role. So they're quite well set up for next turn, and they do of course have the protection in the form of the Ray. We unfortunately have nothing. We're gonna set Ash Blossom in the hopes that he can't actually do it. But this is sort of where Sky Striker differentiates itself as a board breaker compared to other ones such as Galaxy Eyes, in that Sky Striker is much more powerful in a longer game, so it breaks spores and shatters spores, but it doesn't attack as aggressively as Galaxy Eyes does, which means that Galaxy Eyes is usually better in a short game, in a short burst, wiping out the opponent in one fell swoop. But if it sort of goes on to turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, turn 6, Galaxy Eyes' power really starts to taper very quickly, whereas the likes of Sky Striker, who fill a similar role, are sort of start a little bit weaker, but they get stronger and stronger and stronger as they garner advantage throughout the course of a game, because they're decimating your resources frame 1, and then every subsequent turn and every subsequent move, they're going +1, +2, +1, +2, and they're just getting all of these cards and setting all of this back row and recycling everything back off multi-roll, and it just gets pretty silly, and then it eventually culminates in something like this, where they're going into Access Code Talker, banishing a card, 5300 attack, destroying our face down, and attacking us for lethal. Just one of those situations. Sky Striker, again, really fun deck, and it is one that I'm going to be covering on the channel some point soon. By the time you're seeing this, the new cards, like Vanquish Soul and stuff, will already have arrived, but this has been recorded before that. So I don't know when, really, you're going to be seeing that, but we'll talk more about that towards the end. Let's get into the deck profile. And here we have it. So, this is the deck that I was playing. I was having a lot of fun with this. It is a lot more aggressive and going second centric than some of our previous lists. We're playing a lot more board breakers, we're playing the Pearly, things like that. And it's been working out pretty okay. There are definitely maybe some things that still need tweaking. I don't know if it's either A, I'm just tricking myself into thinking that I still need to tweak the deck, or B, I just need to accept the reality of the power level of Galaxy Eyes. Again, the deck was performing very, very well, sort of between Diamond or ranks 3 to 1, which is pretty high rank gameplay for a rogue deck like this, so I'm pretty content with that performance from Galaxy Eyes. We were sort of winning between 50 to 66% of our games on average. We would like take 2 wins, then take an L, then get 2 wins, then take an L, then get 1 win, then take an L, that sort of thing. So it was doing pretty good. It was performing quite consistently as well. Because people are so afraid of Makonko, it sometimes just put you in outright favourable matchups where people were trying to not play anything to play around Makonko and then instantly fold to you. There are definitely threats in the metagame that threaten the presence of Galaxy Eyes. Dragon Link plays against this deck exceptionally well because of their ability to banish our lights from grave, which is a real problem sometimes. We didn't come up against it very much in our gameplay, so that was nice. But I dare say they would have a very problematic matchup against us. Labyrinth is a pretty tough one on occasion, depending on how they set their board up and how well they take advantage of their resources. You can cheat a quick win out of them, so you can, of course, like you saw game number 1. It's not exactly uncommon that will happen. You are able to lay the smackdown on the Labyrinth player who doesn't fully respect your Galaxy Eyes, but if they play optimally, and usually if they have a decent enough hand, you're going to find it very difficult to break that board. But against most of our decks in the metagame, you stand a pretty decent chance of being able to smash their board apart and just go for lethal. You have inherent outs to pretty much all decks in the meta. For example, you have like the number 107, which is your inherent out to the likes of Makonko and Pearly and things like that. Well, Pearly kind of, sorta, but you know what I mean. There's just a lot of cards in here, a lot of outs, a lot of different plays, a lot of routes you can take to break boards and go for lethal damage, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. So if you're a fan of Galaxy Eyes, this is definitely something I'd recommend trying out. If you have any other sort of tech options or anything, of course, let me know. But let's go through the deck, first of all, just so that everyone's on the same page and no one's sort of left behind, right? We're going to take out some of our sort of hand traps and board breakers and everything, just so we're all looking at the same cards. We have triple Maxi, of course. Triple Ash Blossom, of course. We have double Nibiru, which is dual purpose, right? Nibiru is really good for a lot of going second decks, and it's pretty solid enough in the meta right now. A few decks play around it decently well, so it's not like 100%, but it is decent. But the biggest part about this card in particular in this deck is the fact that it's a light monster. So with it being a light monster, that means that it's a valid discard target off a Galaxy Soldier, which is just that little bit extra to unbricking certain hands. If you want an alternative, you could of course consider playing Effect Veiler, which is a very powerful card, or even Gamma, all also light monsters and very powerful hand traps if you want to switch it up for maybe something more going first centric. But for going second, the Nibiru, the Primal Being, is very, very powerful. Effect Veiler also really good. Gamma, really good for beating out something like an early Max C. So all of these are definitely options. We just went for the Nibiru. In terms of board breakers, we have the Raigeki and the Feather Duster. Feather Duster, clutch choice. I was initially running Lightning Storm. I realized the error of my ways. Feather Duster is the way to play. We have the one copy of Thrust. I was initially playing more, but I kept drawing multiple copies of it, and we don't need it bad enough to want to see it in every single hand, so I think running it at one is totally fine. We have double Call By, single Crossout. You could kind of sort of argue that Galaxy Cyclone is also in that set. It is definitely not a mandatory card, but I really like it because it's searchable. It's searchable back row removal, right? You can sort of search mid-combo, so depending upon the resources available to you, you may want to be able to search your deck for the likes of Galaxy Cyclone. But, you know, I'm just saying, I'm going to take it out for now and put it in the sort of auxiliary card section. You can play it if you want. It's definitely not mandatory, but it's very good. And that leaves us with this. So let's go through the cards one for one. Again, Galaxy Eyes isn't really a deck that you mix with anything else, which is, you know, quite good in a way that it enables you to play pretty confidently into a pure strategy, right? There are, of course, you can mix it with certain things, like if you really wanted to play Bystials, you could. But ultimately, through and through, the deck is usually better if you just play it pure, which some people really, really like. Some people hate mixing their decks. They just want to play their favorite cards and they want to play them the way they were meant to be played, and I totally understand that. And this is the type of deck for you. So we're running the one Wizard, one of your better normal summons. Realistically, your normal summons are limited to Wizard and Summoner, which we'll get to in a minute. Wizard can either double its level, or it contribute itself to add a Galaxy card from deck to hand. Neither of which, by the way, are hard once per turns. I should mention that. Meaning you can really sort of loop and abuse this card if you have an ideal situation, but you don't find yourself in that situation very often, so it's not really worth worrying about too much. But do bear in mind, it can double its level by 4, so up to 8, and it can also tribute itself to search your deck for a Galaxy card, both of which are excellent effects, especially in combination with the likes of Galaxy Expedition, which allows you to special summon a level 5 or higher Galaxy or Photon monster from deck so long as you already control a level 5 or higher on the field. This gives you quick, easy, and cheap access to a level 8. Photon Vanisher, a level 4 monster that will special summon itself for free so long as you control a Galaxy or Photon monster, and on summon will search your deck for a Galaxy or Photon Dragon. Just a free extender, searchable off of Rhoda, searchable off of basically everything in the deck. Good way of putting an additional monster in hand in the form of the Galaxy Eyes for like a discard if you really need to build an advantage or extend, and of course having access to the additional level 4s and the additional thus rank 4s is always helpful. Playing it more than one you could, but I think one is fine. You really don't want to see it in every single hand, but it's a really good card to be able to search for. Then we got Photon Orbital, which acts as a consistency card. Basically what it can do, it's a wee bit convoluted in how it works, but you can equip it from your hand onto a Photon or Galaxy monster on your field as a equip spell, gains 500 attack, and that monster cannot be destroyed by battle, so it's actually a decent enough equip effect in certain situations if you want to equip it onto your Exceed monsters. Although more notably what it does is, while it's an equip card, you can send it to the grave to search your deck for any Photon or Galaxy monster and add it to your hand. Pretty straightforward stuff. It basically just acts as 3 additional copies of searchers. It's almost like that Infernoble Arms Durandal, right? In theory, it's sort of pretty similar to how that card works. We've got Galaxy Summoner. I'm between 2 to 3 copies on this card. I think 2 is working out for me fine. I dropped 1 to put in a second jumper, which I am liking. So I think I'm probably going to keep it at 2 and 2. Basically, when this card is summoned, you can target a Photon or Galaxy in grave and bring it back, which is automatically really good. You are going to have the ability to go and do additional normal summons with this deck, thanks to your Photon Emperor. So If you're forced to use this early in a suboptimal situation, maybe you use your normal summon on Galaxy Wizard, you will have the ability to resummon this later in the turn thanks to your Emperor. So don't worry too much about timing its effect too precisely, because you will get another chance at using it later in the turn. It also has another effect where you can target another light monster you control and it becomes level 4 until the end of the turn. Bear in mind that of course is not limited to Galaxy Photons. That could include an Effect Veiler, that could include a Nibiru, that could include anything, right? So you change something in your field to level 4. Most often it'll be your Galaxy Soldier, because it being a level 5 is actually rather inconvenient. We used to play Cyber Dragon Nova and Cyber Dragon Infinity to account for that, to give you some sort of utility off your Galaxy Soldier, but trying to push into Nova and Infinity is such a costly play, and in 99% of situations you can get much more out of your turn if you just completely focus on rank 4s and rank 8s. You can get significantly more card advantage and thus claim a lot more wins. So Photon Jumper then is our next card. It serves as a sort of battle hand trap as well as a search card. It's pretty interesting in how it works. First and foremost, if it's sent to the graveyard, you get to search your deck for a Photon or Galaxy spell or trap. Right away, really good, right? Absolutely mandatory, at least one of. You can run this card at 1 because you can very, very consistently send it to the graveyard free on 1. I like running it at 2 after some testing because I like freeing up those additional mills and those additional cards to go into other possibilities, because I can also just drop this from hand raw off of the likes of Galaxy Soldier, right? So there's a lot of options when it comes to Photon Jumper, and there really is, but the search is very versatile, and you can run it at 1, you can run it at 3, some people run it at 3. I think 2 and 2 with the Summoner is a pretty good ratio. I don't see it too often when I don't want to, and even when I do see it, I can often make use of it, so I'm not too worried about that. It also has a Battle Phase effect, where if your opponent's monster declares an attack, you can activate this effect, skip your next battle phase, special summon this card from the hand, and then end that battle phase. So it's a bit of an interesting effect. It's not one that you're going to use a lot in Galaxy Edge in particular, because you are focusing on going second, and it's not as if you're too afraid of the battle phase, because your monsters all have like 40,000 attack points, so to each their own. But yeah, Jumper's kind of neat. Galaxy Soldier. Galaxy Soldier can send another light monster from your hand to the graveyard to special summon itself in defense. That effect is not once per turn, so you can summon it multiple times. However, its next effect is once per turn, where on summon, you can search your deck for a Galaxy monster. So it can summon itself multiple times, but only gets to search your deck once. It's a great free search, it's a great free summon. Working alongside your Galaxy Summoner, it can change itself, of course. Well, it can be changed, sorry, to a level 4 to fit your Galaxy plays, your extra deck plays. So yeah, a lot of great stuff going on with Soldier. Really like that card. Definitely a mandatory 3 of. We got 3 copies of the OG Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon. Now this one you kind of only really use for its name. You will occasionally use its own effect to summon itself, where if you contribute 2 monsters with 2,000 or more attack points to special summon it. Very occasionally comes up, but most of the time you just want it for a name. So it can be searched from deck off of Vanisher, so it can be summoned from deck off of Afterglow, so it can be equipped onto your monsters. It's just useful to have as many copies of this card as you can. If you wanted to be really stingy on space, you could play it at 2. You could get away with 2, but if you get into all of your copies of it too early and you don't have one left in deck for an Afterglow, you might hate life a little. Galaxy Brave. Galaxy Brave is a level out warrior, of course. You can special summon it from hand by revealing a Photon monster in hand, special summoning itself, and its level then matches the level of the monster you revealed. So that's very useful, because oftentimes you're just going to follow up by summoning the monster that you revealed, right? So most of the time, if you reveal like a level 4, for example, you're going to reveal a level 4, it's going to summon itself as a level 4, and then you're just going to summon the monster that you revealed, and then you're just going to go into an Exceed and get comboing, right? Or it can sometimes act as even a level 8 extender in the certain boards. So Galaxy Brave, definitely a very versatile card. I would definitely play it at least 1. But again, if you're stingy on space, if you want to reduce your number of bricks to absolutely as close to 0 as humanly possible, you can drop Brave. But I do feel like it's a very powerful card, right? It's a difficult argument to make. You're fighting a losing battle there with me, but I can see a world in which you don't play Brave. I mean, to be fair, I thought the same thing about Galaxy Knight, right? There's another really good card that I'm not even playing called Galaxy Knight, which on summon brings back a Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon from Grave. I used to think this card was mandatory and instrumental in any Galaxy deck, and now we're not even playing it, so fuck, what do I know? Galaxy Eyes Afterglow Dragon is the OTK tool of the deck. So if you control a Galaxy Eyes, you can special summon this card from your hand for free. Free level 8 extender, love to see it. If this card is detached from an Exceed monster, to activate that monster's effect, you can take a Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon from your hand or deck. You can either special summon it or you can equip it onto that Exceed monster. If you activated it during the battle phase, you can double the attack points of all number XYZ monsters you control. Now that's pretty big because that includes, of course, your Big Daddy cards. Your number 62s will be boosted up to astronomical heights, able to push for insane damage. That does not, however, exclude the fact that number 38 and number 90 can both be boosted to 6,000 attack points each, as alongside number 107. So don't discount the fact that those guys can still be boosted up to 6k, even though you're going to be more focusing on your number C62 and your number 62, which can be boosted to like 12, 16, 20,000 attack points, right? So just bear that in mind. It is definitely a pretty neat effect. Then we got the Photon Emperor to round out for our monsters. If this card is sent to the graveyard, as long as you have another Photon or Galaxy on field or in grave, you can special summon it from the graveyard in defense, and for the rest of the turn after it's summoned, you get an additional normal summoner, set of a Galaxy, or sorry, of a light monster. So there you go. That's all of the monsters. Spells are super quick. We got Rhoda to search our deck for a warrior. We of course have either Jumper or Vanisher, so it's a little bit of versatility. Expedition we've already talked about. If you control a level 5 or higher, you get to summon a level 5 or higher. Trance is definitely one of our new most powerful starter cards. I'm actually ridiculously tempted to play this card at 2. I think this card is really fucking good. Pay 2,000 life points, target a Photon Engrave and summon it, then special summon a Galaxy from the deck with the same level. And they have their effects negated and their attacks are all changed to 2k. Basically, it's meant to, originally the card, was meant to enable either a Soulflare Dragon play, as you can tell from the card art, or it was meant to enable like a rank 8 or something like that. Now that off of the Jumper being sent to the graves, you can search for Trance, and Trance then, because you search for it off of Jumper, already has a perfect target. It actually makes this card significantly more powerful and more consistent, right? So I could definitely see a world in which you run this at 2. 3 is probably cope, but 2 I can definitely see you doing. But again, I was only playing 1. Galaxy 100. So on activation, take a Galaxy or Photon card from deck and send it to the graveyard. That's how you're going to be proccing, or one of the ways in which you're going to be proccing your Jumper, your Emperor, maybe even setting up a Galaxy Eyes engraved to be grabbed later. Where were we? It also has another effect where if you special summon the Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, you can look at your opponent's extra deck and either banish a card from it, steal a number card from it and summon it to your field, or do nothing. So it gets that sort of unicorn-esque effect where you get to snipe a card out of their extra deck, which is kind of neat. But mainly it's just here for the Foolish Burial effect. Getting into the extra deck, of course, we have our rank 4 package, Baguska, because floodgates are cool. We've got Starleech Photon Blast Dragon, which on summon will special summon a Photon monster from hand. Could be a level 8, could be a level 4. Go nuts. It also has the ability during your opponent's turn to detach a material to special summon a Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon from the graveyard or banish pile, so it can bring back your Photon Dragons. But most importantly, so long as it's face up, any light monster you control that has 2,000 or more attack points cannot be targeted by or destroyed by card effects, which means that it creates basically an impregnable field alongside the likes of the Galaxy Photon Dragon and number C62. It becomes very difficult for your opponent to press for any sort of advantage. Speaking of the Galaxy Photon Dragon, all of your other light monsters gain 500 attack points, which does actually add up, and the most important part of that number is that it means your Starleech Photon Blast Dragon goes from 1800 to 2300. That means it is now officially protected by its own effect. I don't know why they thought this card would be too strong if they gave it 2000 attack points, but they didn't. The Galaxy Photon Dragon does kind of patch that hole though, bringing it up to 2300 and making it so that it also protects itself from targeting and effect destruction. Although more importantly about this card, you can detach a material to search your deck for a Galaxy or Photon card and either add it to hand or send it to grave. If a light monster is special summoned to your field, you also get the ability to change its level to either 4 or 8, so you can modulate your levels according to what your desires are as well off of this card. So everything it does, again, patches a lot of holes in Galaxy Eyes. This card is absolutely amazing and is a large part of why the deck works at all. We definitely doubled up on it. You don't have to play 2 of it. But again, I really, really, really like having 2 of it, so, you know, to each their own. Number 107, this here is almost entirely here to counter Makonko. Back when the new support first launched, it also launched alongside Makonko, and we found ourselves in an impasse where we weren't able really to make any headway against them. Number 107 was the answer. So basically, at the beginning of the battle phase, you can detach a material from this. All monsters' effects on the field are currently negated, and all attacks and defenses reduced to normal. Now, alongside the likelihood of a Afterglow Dragon, this monster could potentially boost itself up to 6k, negate the opponent's whole board, and enable a crazy amount of damage, possibly even going for lethal. If your opponent does have the gall to activate an effect during the battle phase after you've used this effect, your Tachyon Dragon gains 1000 attack until the end of the battle phase and can make a second attack during that battle phase. So you get to basically press for lethal damage because it goes from 3k and 1 attack to 4k with 2 attacks. Right? Pretty straightforward stuff. So Tachyon Dragon, pretty awesome. I would say it's virtually mandatory unless you like taking L's from Pearly, right? If you're, not Pearly, sorry, Makonko. If you don't really care about Makonko, you don't have to play this card. I think the alternatives are usually better. But again, it's hard to pass it up, man. You know what I mean? Why not play it in the Makonko? It's just so handy. Number 62, we need for its name to summon out the big lad himself, so we're not going to worry too much about this guy and his text, but goddamn, look at that art if that isn't sexy. But basically, he's just here for his name, which we'll get to in a minute. We got the full armor and the Cypher Blade. I'm going to talk about these guys as a set. Full armor and Cypher Blade. Well, with the full armor, you can take any Galaxy Eyes Exceed monster, or any Galaxy Exceed monster, I should say, and you can summon this card on top of that monster. Now, this guy can detach a material to pop a face-up card in the field, so basically it makes him a 4k beater that can pop an opponent's card. Now, Cypher Blade is another one where you can put this card on top of a rank 8 Galaxy Eyes Exceed monster and do very much the same thing, where you detach a material and you get to pop any card on the field. This time it can be face up or face down. So normally what you're going to do is you're going to summon out a weaker Exceed monster like your Galaxy Eyes Cypher Dragon. You're going to rank that up in the full armor Photon Dragon, detach, pop a card. Then you're going to rank that up into the Cypher Blade Dragon, detach, pop another card. Suddenly you've just destroyed 2 cards and you have a huge 3200 attack beater on the board. We got Hope Harbinger. This card has 2 main effects. First of all, if your opponent activates a spell, you can activate once per turn to negate and absorb that spell as Exceed material. It can also detach a material to redirect an attack toward itself during the battle phase. We have number 90 Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord. So long as it has a Photon monster as material, it cannot be destroyed by card effects, which does come up. Once per turn, of course, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can detach a material and negate that effect, and if the material you detached was a Galaxy card, you get to destroy the monster. As a second effect, during your opponent's turn specifically, as a quick effect, you can take a Photon or Galaxy card from deck and either add it to your hand or equip it onto this guy as material. So it gives you free searches, it gives you negates, it gives you destruction, it protects itself, it's got that 3k defense. Everything about this card is just amazing. This is usually when you're going first. This is your default Exceed monster. We got number C62 Neo Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon. This card could be summoned directly on top of number 62. Basically, it has a couple of effects. At the start of the battle phase, you can detach a material. This card can make up to 3 attacks on monsters during the battle phase. Ironically, that doesn't come up as much as you think it would. You definitely want to detach to use its effect, but that's almost certainly because you want to detach an Afterglow Dragon that would be equipped to it. But the whole attacking multiple monsters thing doesn't come up as much as you think it would, because normally, if any of their monsters are in attack mode, you'll win the game instantly anyway. But more importantly, if it has a Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon as material, it gains 2 additional effects. Number 1, it is unaffected by your opponent's activated monster effects, or unaffected by your opponent's monster effects full stop, activated or no. And secondly, it gains attack equal to the combined levels and ranks of all of its attached materials. So it gets quite sizable. We got Zeus because it's Zeus. We have Mirage because Mirage is super specific. Mirage is literally here for situations where I have to like normal summon Photon Orbital to get it into the graveyard as like a Galaxy Trance target. So super ridiculously niche. It also works for Photon Jumper, where you can like normal summon Photon Jumper, link it off in the Mirage, trigger Jumper's effect to search for Trance, and then do the whole play. So having the one of Mirage definitely makes the jumper in hand and like the orbital in hand when you don't have any other cards more playable. So I think it is definitely worth at least one extra deck slot. And lastly, with the Soul Flare Dragon, when it's summoned, you get to grab a Galaxy or Photon monster from graveyard and add it back to hand. During your opponent's main phase, as a quick effect, you can discard a Photon card and a Galaxy card, or a Galaxy-ized Photon Dragon, to pop a special summon monster your opponent controls. And that's the full deck. Again, the deck really isn't all that big brain. A little bit of practice will sort of get you to learn the basic combo lines. What I will say though is there's a lot of niche plays that you really sort of need to use your brain around. You're not going to see unless you actually get in and practice it, like playing around with the Mirage and the jumper and such. I didn't realize that I would need those until I was in and playing the games, right? So pick it up. If you're a fan of Galaxy Eyes, or maybe you just want to play something new and you have most of the cards. I know the deck itself isn't all that expensive. In the main deck, we have 0 URs, and in the extra deck, in terms of non-staples, we have the Tachyon Dragon and the Soul Flare Dragon, right? As well as the Prime Dragons, I guess. So what, 1, 2 URs that are absolutely, like, probably not going to see play anywhere else, and then 3 or 4 that are probably not going to see it play anywhere else. So maybe 120 UR points, right? Let's say 120. The rest of the extra deck cards are all pretty much staples, right? You want to have the full armor and Cypher Blade for any deck that plays rank 8s, like Blue Eyes or whatever, so you will reuse these cards. You'll reuse Zeus, of course. You'll reuse number 90 and number 38, two of the best generic rank 8 monsters in the game. So yeah, a lot of it's reusable, a lot of it's affordable as part of the, basically the pack that came out. I'm not sure if many of these cards are still available in the packs, but the only ones that really that were in now that were new were a lot of these SRs, which are all very easy to craft. So yeah, I think the deck's very affordable if you want to play something new. If you're a fan of the anime, a fan of Kite Tenjo, or maybe you just want to play something new, it's right here. So I'm not going to take up any more of your time. If you haven't subscribed to the channel and you got this far into the video, I don't see why not. Obviously, you're liking what you're seeing if you watch this far in, so I would ask you to subscribe. It takes 2 seconds, and it is the best way of supporting the channel. So again, take the 2 seconds for me if you don't mind, and like the video if you actually enjoyed watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.